Is ready. Okay. Hi, Andrea.
Hi, Hillary. How are you?
Good. So good to see you. I'm really excited to be doing this today.
So am I. I'm excited on so many levels. It's good to see you. It's good to see our partnership at work, right? And I love the journey of conversation. So super excited about this.
Me too. So, can you tell us a little bit about Black Mental Health Alliance? And then I'd love to talk just a little bit about our partnership and then get into the fun stuff.
Absolutely. So it's funny, Black Mental Health Alliance, we've been around almost 40 years. And we really are in this moment in time. Um, we really are focusing on, we have forever about mental health and Black people and marginalized communities and what that looks like beyond self care, right? Beyond the diagnosis. I mean, how do you live your best life in this moment? And how do we help make sure you are paired with the right clinician, that there are things available for clinicians, and there are workshops and available for clients and communities. And so we really have for almost 40 years been hosting educational forums and conferences about the disparities and inequities in mental health, but even bigger than that, where you can go for help. So we tout a great database with clinicians who are sound and culturally grounded, with practices and cultural humility, but really about sharing the how we, not just how we got here, but why the cycle perpetually keeps going on and on. And so that's the Black Mental Health Alliance. We do trainings and a number of other things. So again, this is an exciting time to be doing this work and making impact across, not just in our state, but across the country, and globally. So it's an exciting time to be doing this work.
It's exciting for us too. One of the things that I love most about this partnership is the ripple effects that you always remind me of, is that if we can help one person in their journey, that's going to affect their lives, their families' lives, generations yet to come. And it is really exciting to be a part of that. I'm Backline was launched to make sure that music industry professionals from all different genres and all different places had access to mental health resources. And as we've been going down that journey, recognizing, we say this is accessible for everyone who needs it. But there was a real need to make sure that the resources were not just accessible, but were appropriate. And so when somebody is coming to us with something on their heart, that may not be able to be treated by a therapist that doesn't have this cultural humility training and doesn't have this understanding of all of the different pieces of it. And so I know you and I and our teams have been talking for coming up on 6 months now about what this looks like together. But it was really exciting in early April to announce our partnership and actually put that intention out there into the world and let people know we are going to be working together to make sure that Black music industry professionals have specific resources that are available to them, that are appropriate to them. We're going to be going out and training Backline's network of clinicians with this cultural humility training so that we can actually, when people come to us and say, I need a therapist that understands my experience, we can do that in partnership with y'all and have it be rooted in your 40 years of experience serving Black community. It's a really powerful thing for us as a new organization to be able to look to you all as, leaders in how we can be doing this work.
Hillary, you said a mouthful. So you talked about your Backline being excited, but so are we, because I think what it says is that there is this sort of larger recognition of the place we find ourselves in, right? And so, how do we help creatives do their best work? But then also, how do we tell the truth about how we got here? And not in a way like shame on you, but in a way to say, aha, now I know the hold up from my healing, right? Now I get the hold up from my healing. And then raise the bar in terms of what to expect. I should be able to expect, I produce great music, I do all these wonderful things. Not me, these artists, of course. And yet I am troubled, right? And yet I can't I'm not even sure my full story, but I don't even have anybody else who knows it. And so I think, Backline, not sounding the alarm, but calling like front and center about the deficits. I think that speaks to Backline. And I think it speaks to, you and I talk about this, how this really is our moment, right? To move from here in a place of healing for artists.
Yeah, and that leads us to, why we're here today. So we had announced our partnership with the Black Mental Health Alliance right before this live stream event that we did on April 10th, Set Break. And one of the artists that was a part of Set Break immediately reached out and said, "This resonates with me. I'm so excited about this partnership." And wants to be a part of this conversation. And just in getting to know her and having some of these moments with her, it really does make sense to bring her in, to bring in the artist perspective to why we're doing this work and all of that. So I'm really excited. I'm going to bring in Moorea Masa. She's one of my favorite artists of the past few years that I've found, and she's got a lot to say and hopefully is going to do a little song too. So Moorea.
Hello.
Hey,
Hi.
Maria. Don't you look just nice and soulful? And I love that. I
Thank you.
almost wore a print like that.
Print isn't neutral these days, right?
I love it. I love it. I love it. I do. Thank you so much for joining us. We're so
So
excited
much for
to have you.
having
And
me and for doing the work that you do.
no, let me just tell you, it is, and I think Hillary can attest to this. This is, you help us put voice to the thing that we're doing, right? And we really are in a 911 on so many levels, but you help us put voice. And I love the title today about conversations. And so we get to hear your experiences, we get to go on a journey with you, and we know it's not over. It is ongoing. Healing is ongoing, right?
Definitely.
Wellness is ongoing. And so again, we salute you for joining us. We're super excited. And I think you really have no idea. You really have no idea the impact that this will make. And Hillary hears me say it all the time. I won't, because she said it earlier, but for the right now, and okay, I'll say it, and for generations yet unborn. So so thank you for that. um
I feel that.
well, I appreciate you. So Hillary, I know we said we tag team. Well, talk to us a little bit about who you are and how we even got to this place.
Yes. So yeah, I my name is Moorea Masa, as you said. Um and I think just going straight into it, I feel like why I resonated with the work that you're doing is I just released a record recently. Um, and it's all about my relationship with my mother, who is a Black queer woman. I identify as mixed, and her mental health struggles. And I've made this record all about our relationship. We are estranged now because of she's put me in some dangerous situations, and it's no longer safe for me to be in touch with her. But in this last year especially, and in making this record and releasing this record, I've just thought about a lot about the lack of access, especially for BIPOC folks, to mental health resources out there. And I've just really thought a lot about what would it be like if my mom had these resources when she was growing up, or she knew that these resources existed, or if she had resources for people that looked like her, how that could have changed her outcome. And so in releasing this record, I've just kind of made it my mission to just talk about it as much as possible, because I feel like there's so much stigma around even just asking for help. And I know for myself, my experience in the Black community, especially getting therapy, there's so many folks that I know, my mother, who's had negative experiences in therapy because they've found that they've had a white therapist who isn't culturally sensitive. And then they're like, I am not doing therapy. It's not for me. And just to know that there are resources out there that, like you guys, finding resources that make sense for the people that need the resources. Yeah, I've just kind of made it my mission to just like talk about it, destigmatize it, support organizations that are doing this work. It just feels so part of my healing too. If I have this pain from my mother's experience and then generational trauma, obviously I have a different experience because I'm very white passing. But just like, how can we talk about this? How can we make a difference? How can I take this pain that I've experienced and transform it into action? So that's just why I'm here, and why I just deeply appreciate what y'all are doing and want to support it and uplift what you guys are doing. Oh,
You're on mute still.
I just said, wow, talk about it like a mic drop, right? Almost. And I know Hillary's going to jump in here, but I want you raise several things, but that is so symbolic and so important in this moment. And one of the things you talked about is stigma, right? And so especially and we won't even talk, let's start with your mother, the stigma around being Black and wanting and needing therapy is such a big deal. And so some of what we've talked about with Backline, our partners, is, how do we reduce the stigma? Not just for, obviously for the folks in the industry, but I mean, and that's our big fight, reducing the stigma, doing a full-on campaign about how we reduce stigma. It's okay to say, you know what, something's going on. I don't know if it's systemic racism. I don't know if it's trauma. And then how do we help you so that you are not your trauma? But that requires a number of things. It requires taking some risk. It requires really voice. Because when you say, I'm going to see a clinician, I'm going to see a therapist, you don't know what's going to happen, but you are taking the risk that I am trusting that I will find my voice to be able to speak to my pain, right? And so I thank you for raising that, because, part of what we've talked about as partners and what we talk about individually is the stigma around getting help and seeking services, and even the admission around it. And so, so I make the connection to go, and now what? Now I have somebody who, whether even if maybe they look like me, maybe they don't, but perhaps they don't understand the lens, right? And trauma is real. And I heard you say that, we're doing a whole series now around I am not my trauma, but trauma is real. And so to be able to make a bold step to get into treatment, right? Or to see a therapist, and there's no underlying training around cultural humility or cultural competency is a setback in and of itself. So I'd love to hear, and Hillary, please, this is so my thing, like such a passion for me. But I'd love to hear, Moorea, as you would share, even your journey around a clinician and finding a clinician that can speak to you, this woman in this space, right, with this history.
Yeah, I feel like we talked a little bit about this before. I've been, I moved to California recently and had to find a new therapist, and I had been seeing mine for 5 or 6 years, and I loved her, but I feel like it was really helpful, and just like I had like a laundry list of like, okay, these are the things that I need to be really comfortable with in a therapist. I'm queer myself. Today's the first day of Pride. I also have this interesting relationship to my identity because I'm white passing, but I have a Black mother, and I'm mixed, and I'm coming to terms with my identity, and that's and I want to be able to talk about that. I have specific types of therapy that I know work for me. So in reaching out to therapists, and I reached out to so many therapists, originally I was like, I would love to have a BIPOC therapist for these reasons, to relate to around identity. And I ended up reaching out to like probably 10 different therapists and scheduling just like 15-minute calls with each therapist. And I talked to so many different ones. And I ended up going with a woman who's a Jewish woman, but she came to me just with so much sensitivity. And just one of our first conversations was like, I know that I acknowledge that harm will happen in this relationship. And I want to just be able to have regular check-ins with you on, just with that understanding of how I'm doing, how I can be more sensitive. I'm constantly learning and growing. And I want you to feel safe in coming to me and telling me if something didn't feel sensitive or right. And she does. She regularly checks in with me. How did that feel to you? I just want to make sure that, I was sensitive here, and it's just been that allowed me to really feel safe with her. And I feel like I've been able to really like build trust with her through that. And, she's also just really on top of learning, and I don't have to explain a lot of things to her. And that feels really great too. And, I had to weed through some therapists who didn't know, I was like talking to one of the women, like I said the word BIPOC, and I was like, I don't know how you identify if you're BIPOC, because I didn't see a picture of her. And she was like, I'm comfortable. I'm married. I'm straight. I'm comfortable with all. She just didn't know what BIPOC is, which is fine. Some people don't, but I was like, okay, you're not my therapist. So, I really think it's a process. And I feel like what I was saying before, a lot of people get turned away. They have one bad experience, and it's not. And I do think it is really important that therapists are trained in this sensitivity. I think, it's part of dismantling these oppressive systems, right? Like a lot of therapists are in this oppressive system and don't think that's important to learn these things, and then go into these communities and end up causing a lot more harm. And I just think, I know you can probably speak to this more than I can, but that it's important that this training happens. I'm so glad that you guys are doing that. And that also we have more support for BIPOC therapists to exist also, and that these people are being paired, BIPOC therapists are being paired with BIPOC people, and they know that they're out there. We talked a lot about this too. I know a lot of BIPOC therapists who are just completely overwhelmed, and have long waiting lists. So also why I think this training is really important that you're doing. Anyway, I'm just blabbing on now, but.
No, you're speaking to so much of the reality right now, which is that, in the past year or year and a half, all therapists are really busy. It can be really hard to get in with anyone. And then you take a look at the number of therapists that do have this cultural humility training or identify themselves as BIPOC, and it's a very small number. And so trying to find someone that has availability for you can be really difficult, which is why we're so grateful to be now working with Black Mental Health Alliance, who have this amazing referral network of clinicians that they've trained already. They're going to come in and train our clinicians, and we really are putting it out there, that this is a need in our community. There are music industry professionals that really need support right now, and the kind of support is layered based on their experience and how they, see themselves in the world. And so it's really important that we are able to meet people where they are and really be specific in what their needs look like, because we see so the outcomes that we see in those relationships between client and therapist are so different when somebody can walk in and feel understood or feel comfortable to say, that's not right or that's inappropriate, right? And so I loved what your therapist said of like, I want to have check-ins about how you're feeling and how I'm doing. Like owning that we're going to make mistakes in this is an amazing thing that you really don't, I don't think I've heard that before. So I might have to get her number for some of my friends in LA because she sounds really in tune with, you know, the crisis that is at hand right now.
You know, Hillary, it's funny that you said that. I too like, I think she says, I acknowledge, right? That this thing will happen and that there's this, I acknowledge when we, and that, my friend, sets the tone right away. And the whole notion of I acknowledge that this could happen on this journey while we're here, but this is what I am expecting of you. A couple of things, you know, we talk about access. You mentioned earlier about, you know, perhaps if your mother could have gotten access or all of those kinds of things. And that's very real, right? It's very real right this moment. Access and equity. And so the inability to get, you know, to have telehealth, especially in this space of COVID-19. Can you imagine the hell that people went through last year, right? You know, not having access, not being able to do telehealth, and just equity, period. Not even being able to find a clinician that can speak to the place that you're in. And so I think one of the things that, you know, that I can appreciate most about the partnership is that's the first thing that we're doing is training clinicians, right? That's the first thing. And you know, and so here we get to set the bar. This is what you can expect. This is what you can have. Now, is there enough? Nope. That's what we're working on. But starting there is important. And you know, I love how you are owning your healing, Moorea. I do. And I just wish you could, if you could, because people need to hear that. You know, you said I was able to, I found these 10 and I interviewed them. People need to know that that's available to them. I can call you and ask you. You know, I had my son 17 years ago and interviewed like 12 pediatricians. I had no idea what I was looking for. I just wanted to know what you thought about nursing or whatever. But my point is, it was liberating to me because I own that space. And I'd love for you to be able to talk about how did you even get there? I mean, because that doesn't sound risky or bold, but it is when you're in a space where either you've had a clinician and it hasn't worked, or you're like, nobody's going to get it. And I'm in this space. How please just kind of walk us through, like, what kinds of things are you even asking? And you said a couple, but I just think that's important because that becomes liberation for people.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it, when I had my first therapist, I didn't interview her. I had no idea. And I really lucked out, and she was a very kind, loving person, and I had formed a great relationship with her, but she wasn't up to speed with a lot of things, and I ended up having to explain a lot to her. And I could tell, you know, she was very white, had a white family. I could tell that, you know, just from kind of hearing a little bit that maybe like her family were Trump supporters and super maybe racist and not, and, you know, just hearing, I was, you know, which doesn't mean that she is, but she wasn't, but just hearing certain things, I was like, oh, okay, I don't want to have to do that labor going into a new relationship. And maybe I never should have had to in the first place, you know, kind of feeling that. And, you know, also just, I think having that experience and feeling like really clear on like, okay, if I were going to have an experience that was really aligned with me, what were the things that I need to have this person really feel safe for me? Like what feels safe for me? And I think that takes time also in learning to know what that is for you. I might have, had to have that experience that didn't quite feel right for me to feel in certain ways to know what was right for me. I think, it's been a long journey of healing and finding different therapists, different healers, and just kind of trying on a lot of different things and being like, okay, what resonates with me the most? Yeah, I don't know. I think that's part of it is I feel like a lot of times we try something and we're like, ugh, it didn't work for me. I'm not going to ask for help anymore because that first time I asked for help, I was let down. And I've experienced that too. And I think it's just really like, okay, I'm going to just keep asking for help. It's really freaking hard, but we all deserve support and community. And we all deserve that. And, just keep asking until I find somebody that's like, I got you. And I really believe them. And I feel like I can lean into that.
I just had to ask for a little help that somebody would bring me my computer charger. So after the holiday weekend, just definitely feel that. But I know that a lot of people had been asking you for help, Moorea, in finding, resources that were available to them. And I think that's such a testament to you having done this work and done this journey of saying, this is a non-negotiable for me. I need to have help, and I am unapologetic in saying that and calling out for that. And therefore, people in your communities are coming to you and saying, how can I do this? And so much of this mental health care space is feeling comfortable, like you have a friend that you can talk to or ask. And even in that, there are still people that slip through the cracks. And so I think it's really important, like what you're doing as an individual in your communities, and then what we're doing with Backline and with Black Mental Health Alliance, and just trying to give people every kind of option. Like, hey, if you want to talk to a friend about it, there's great people that are willing to talk about it. If you want to talk to not a friend about it, that's a reality for people too, is that they don't feel comfortable always going through that. And so just creating as many avenues as we can for people to find the right avenue for them is, I think, such an important thing in this particular moment in time, of saying there's not a one size fits all for this, but if you need something, there's a lot of ways to get it.
So I think, platforms like this, like I can't imagine how many people are going to see this on, whether it's, we do IG clips, all of that. And I think that that's important because what you do is you become this ambassador, and not that that's what you want it to be, but I mean, maybe that's part of what we're all called to be doing, right? Something more outside of ourselves. So you become this almost unofficial ambassador. And they were like, oh my God, she looks like me, or oh my God, that happened to me. These are the kinds of things. And so, you're right, there is no sort of one size fits all. There's no toolkit, right? But I think it's important when people hear her say, you're not right for me, and here's what I should be looking for. And I think we get the very, very precious, and it is precious, opportunity to teach people that they have the right? They have the right to be well. And damn it, they have the right to see somebody who looks like them, or who understands them, or who can see from a lens. And the more we say that, I think the better we get to do. Then we really are one band, one sound in this moment, right? So I'm really glad, I'm glad I asked the question about, I asked that about you, because one of the things you said is, you said, what feels safe? You said, I'm gonna have to do the labor on this, right? And those are what might sound just like verbiage, but those are nuggets that get to help people kind of figure out what they need. But more importantly, um, in between all of that, what I heard is what I deserve, right? So I deserve to be able to find and have a clinician that can speak to this space I'm in, so that I get to heal. And so I just, I wanted to lift that up. I think that that's super important and liberating for people.
And I think it's so powerful too. I mean, I've listened now to your new album quite a few times, and you speak to so many of these topics, but actually to be able to, not every artist does have a voice outside of their music, does have these conversations. And so it's really refreshing to me to be able to see, these topics represented in your music, but then also in the way that you live your life and the way that you use your platforms and the way that you show up in your communities. And so, like, I want to thank you so much for, I connect with topics through music. That's why I'm in this space. I hear it in a song and it resonates with me. So thank you for writing an album that speaks to, experiences that we share, and that I think a lot of people share, regardless of your history and background and relationships. There are through lines in that are really powerful. But then also being able to step up and say, this is what the album's about. And this is why I had to write it. I mean, that is so powerful to me, to be willing to do the work to explain that and have these open conversations, because you don't know who that's going to connect or resonate with. And if somebody is out there watching this and recognizes, oh, I also carry this, or I also carry my mother with me, that can be a powerful moment in time too, and one that not everyone has gotten there yet. So I'm just feel so fortunate to be here having this conversation with you. And I am hopeful that you might play us a song from the album. Are you set up to do that?
Please. Please, or I'll be forced to sing a tune and they don't want to, because I too love the album.
I'm gonna do a little bit here. I just want to say thank you again for having me too. I feel like, this record was by far the most vulnerable record that I've ever written. I feel like, I finally was like ready to really start writing about this. And when quarantine first hit, I was going to release the record and I was like, this isn't relevant, this isn't relevant right now. I can't put anything out. I don't want to crowd this space. And then something just hit me like, actually, this is really relevant right now. Everybody's going through so much. We're all experiencing so much trauma. And I felt like, okay, if I'm going to release this right now, the only way I'm going to do it is if I lean into that vulnerability as much as I can, and just be talking about these things, be sharing my experiences. And I find that every time I do, something in me feels a little lighter, that I get to not hold all of this myself. And also I get messages from people saying the same saying, I had that experience. Thank you for speaking on it. And even if it's just one, or I feel less alone in this. And that is literally my goal with my music, with everything that I'm doing, just for people to feel less alone, because you're not alone. We're all going through it. None of us are, I keep saying this, like, it doesn't feel like any of us are thriving right now in this time. Like, we're all just surviving, and that's okay. Like, we're all doing our best, and just that we don't have to hold it ourselves. And I think that for me is just what I want to continue to share with my music, is just that we don't have to do it alone. So hopefully me stepping into my vulnerability encourages you to do the same. And yeah, I will play a song. This song is, and I'm going to do my best to sing these high notes right now. My voice is a little tired today. But this song is called Butterfly. It's the last song on the record. And I wrote this song after writing these really, really tough songs about my experience with my mom. And I kind of showed up to the session that day with my friend Jess Best, who I wrote the song with. And I just was like, I can't write another sad song that I cry. I was just like a lot of tear-filled writing sessions. And I showed up and I was just like, this song came out and it felt like a look back at kind of all the deep dives that we had done in this process. And sometimes it's just a reminder that sometimes you need to take a step back, look at all the healing and as far as you have come and as good as you are doing through the hardships that you've gone through. And that you don't always have to go to the darkness. Sometimes you can come out of the darkness and be like, okay, like sometimes that is being gentle with yourself too, is joy, finding joy as resistance. Anyway, I'll play the song. All right. Oh, I don't want you to see my cat. Playpen. Okay. Can you hear that okay? I hope that's a yes. Let me know if you can. Okay. You come a long way from when you were a child. You come a long way, burying your heart in the wild, but you ain't stopping. Slowing, exposing every feeling. You'll keep healing. You'll keep healing. Every emotion is a guest in your home, holding it open. It's a job on its own, but you keep coming back for more. Butterfly, always trying to keep it light, but you're addicted to the sweet of the night. Oh, to come up forever once in a while. Butterfly, always trying to make it right. There will always be a fate. How's it feel to be flying? Ooh, 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 ooh. How's it feel to be flying? Can't you see that you're flying? But I don't blame you for wearing the past. No, it ain't easy, but you're made to last. And I see you soaring when you feel you can't hold it. You're still growing, you're still growing. You got an anchor. If you gone too far, don't be afraid to stay where you are, 'cause there will always be more. Butterfly, always trying to keep it light, but you're addicted to the sweet of the night. Oh, won't you come up forever once in a while? Butterfly, always trying to make it right. There will always be a fate. How's it feel to be flying? Ooh, 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 ooh. How's it feel to be flying? Can't you see that you're flying? Come and rest your tired wings. Oh. You are higher than you think. Butterfly, always trying to keep it light, but you're addicted to the sweet of the night. I want to come out forever once in a while.
Okay, yeah. Look, right? Oh my gosh.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, and that's
the highest one too.
That is a tired voice. I know Hillary's got something to say, but let me just tell you, and I've heard it before a couple of times. One of my favorite lines is every emotion is a guest in your home. Like I just think that is such healing for people when they hear that, right? Every emotion is a guest in your home. And then my other, you know, I, I like this come up for rest, come up for air. It's just so powerful. And so, I think to be able to tell the story behind the song is healing alone. And Hillary, I know you're going to add to that.
I actually, for once, don't really have that much to say. I'm kind of in awe of both of you and the ways that you can speak to this and about this. I mean, I got to let y'all shine on this one.
You are just, and then, thank you for sharing. I got to the studio and I said, let's just do this thing. And again, I just think that you have no idea how liberating that will be and is for people. And I love this. It just even feels like a book should go with it, right? Honestly. And and I don't know what that would even look like, but it's in the universe now. But it just feels like, because and I shared this with you before, it's so poetic. And part of the reason is because it's so your journey. That's why it's so poetic. And so, I hope, I want to say thank you for using your voice and your platform and your gifts in this moment to help people heal, and to help people understand that it's okay to look for a therapist who either looks like you or who is culturally grounded and sees from a different lens. And so you help shape this moment, and quite frankly, this is a movement. That's all I'm gonna say. This, my friend, is a movement. You're an activist in this space and don't even know it.
I also just want to say, if there are any non-BIPOC folks watching who have therapists, are doing good, and want to support you guys, how can they do that? I would love, because the work that you're doing is so deeply important and is so valuable, because I think especially with the year that we've all gone through, it's been especially hard for Black folks and BIPOC folks, and need support now more than ever. And if you can afford to help make that happen, I know, well, I just want to encourage people watching this to donate to both of your organizations, because this is it really means a lot to me on a personal level. Like, it makes me get teary-eyed, and I want you guys to be able to thrive also.
Well, thank you so much. They can go to our website, blackmentalhealth.com. We're on IG, Young Black Minds Matter. We're on every platform. You can go to Backline and find us. You can come to us and find Backline. We meant what we said when we were partnering. And so every opportunity we are given to be able to highlight how important this moment and the message is, we do. And again, Hillary, I'll let you call out your handles, but please do.
Yeah, so following us on social media is a great way to support. You can donate on our website, but as Moorea, you mentioned, I mean, if anyone out there has a great therapist that you love, please send them our way. Our network is always growing, and any mental health providers can sign up to be a part of that referral network right from our website. And then at the end of this month, we're going to be offering this training with the Black Mental Health Alliance to all of our clinicians around cultural sensitivity and all of the things that we're talking about today, recognizing what we carry into that room it varies based on our experiences. And so we're so excited to be able to be out there training, Backline's network of clinicians. And so if people want to join the network, they will get offered to take that step with us and to be a part of this movement of really diving into what our experiences are, how they differ, and how that makes us, feel and how we can show up in the world. And I feel so encouraged to be working with both of y'all and having these conversations, because we are giving people an opportunity to heal. We're giving them resources and ways to heal so that they can show up in the world in a way that they want to. And that's really my end goal, is if we can get one person to show up and feel happier or healthier, and that helps them make music or be a part of it. It's part of this obligation that we have as humans on the planet to show up and help one another truly fulfill our life's work. And as you said, not many of us are thriving right now, but I feel hopeful that, conversations like this and building more resources and making it available to people will help us get on that path where all of us can, be determining what that looks like.
And if I could just say, Hillary knows that I'm a voracious reader. I love music. But Willie Morrow wrote a book, and it's called, folk don't have to get this, I just want to make an analogy, 400 Years Without a Comb, right? And it really talks about the evolution of Black hair, 400 years without a comb. And one of the reasons why I raised that, I'd like us to think large, like 400 years without a voice, whether that's Black, BIPOC, marginalized community. Can you imagine that just now folk are trying to find their voice? And what's amazing is that they didn't even know they had one until they got to a clinician, or until they heard you sing, or until they heard this conversation. And so, what we do is put voice to this, right? Because it is there that the stigma gets reduced. It is there that people find healing. It is there that every emotion is a guest in your home. And so, just think about, as you support not just our work, but as you lend voice to this movement, you are closing the gap, years without a voice. So thank you.
This is our moment. Thank you both so much for being a part of this. And, I'm looking forward to doing more work together and just keeping this conversation going, because it's only getting more important day by day. And I think people need to hear that there are ways through this, and there are ways through the dark. And I think that's really something that you are living out, Moorea, and we're so honored that you are sharing that story here with us. So thank you all for being a part of this, and for everyone who tuned in today. This is just the beginning.
Yes.
Indeed. Thank you.
They're both amazing. Go support these two organizations, please.
Be on the lookout. There may be a book and a part 2. That's all I'll say.
Amazing.
All right. Take care, y'all.
Take care. Bye-bye.